Hello guys, as usual, stay home, stay safe, do Excel chemistry. Alright, so today we are going to discuss about furthermore properties, like where we have stopped yesterday in the previous class. Like the next property is about reducing nature or oxidation potential. Oxidation potential. Boron, starting with boron. Boron does not form any positive ion in aqueous solution. Positive ion in aqueous solution. That means it always tries to be uh, not in the cationic form but tries to share the electrons, covalency. Okay, boron does not form any positive ions in aqueous solution. Therefore, if any substance is not forming any positive ion, when can a substance form positive ion? By losing electron. Boron does not lose electron, so if it is not ready to lose electron, that means it is having low oxidation potential. Yes or no? It is not ready to lose the electron. Anything which loses electron is oxidation, right? So it is not ready to lose, so low oxidation potential. On the other hand, if you talk about aluminium has highest oxidation potential out of all. Highest oxidation potential in the group. Okay, that means it readily loses the electrons, and it because of its highest oxidation potential, it's a strong reducing agent. In fact, it is stronger than carbon also. Stronger than carbon. Aluminum is the strongest reducing agent out of the group, and it is stronger than the carbon also. The reason behind this is, as usual, it readily loses the electrons. It readily loses, in fact, 3 electrons. So it forms electrons, that is plus 3 ion is formed, and ionization energy of aluminium is less than ionization energy of carbon. Because of this reason, we can say like aluminum is the strongest reducing agent than carbon. Ionization energy of aluminum is lesser than carbon. Why lesser? Because of its from left to right size will decrease, right? So carbon is relatively smaller in size than aluminium. So more ionization energy, lesser ionization energy. Because of this reason, we can say like it's a strong reducing agent than carbon. Then apart from this, if you talk about gallium, indium, thallium, they all have high oxidation potential, not highest than aluminum but high, because due to high hydration energy. High oxidation potential means they readily lose the electron. Not readily lose the electron like aluminium, but they lose the electrons. How can they lose electrons? Because their hydration energy is high. I am talking about aqueous solution, right? So their hydration energy is high. More and more amount of energy is released. That amount of energy released can remove the electron from gallium, indium and thallium. If a species is getting removed an electron, then in other words it is undergoing oxidation. So higher oxidation potential. Then oxidizing state or oxidation number or oxidation states. We know that these elements have the general electronic configuration as Ns2 Np1 with some noble gas here, correct? Now what is oxidation state or oxidation number? That amount of electrons that are lost or gained to be stable. Okay, oxidation state means what? Electrons lost or gained to be stable. This is called as oxidation state or oxidation number. Now if you look here, if it loses one electron, then also it is having fully filled s orbital. The elements will have, if it loses one electron, then also they have fully filled s orbital. So we have studied that relatively it is stable. Fine. So when it loses one electron, at that time losing one electron means it is showing what? +1 oxidation state. If it loses both the 3 electrons, then purely noble gas configuration, right? So +3 oxidation state. Bottom line is it can exhibit +1 and +3 oxidation states. Okay, no +2. Okay, either +1 or +3. Fine. Now this, you need to remember this very important point, that higher oxidation states are, or I should write it as stability of higher oxidation state or oxidation number decreases from boron to thallium. Same way, opposite, that is stability of lower oxidation number. What do you mean by higher? +3 oxidation state. Lower is +1 oxidation state. What happens? Increases from boron to thallium. Very, very, very important point. Okay, that means what does this point say is, it says like boron +3 is stability is increasing, right? Stability of +3 oxidation, stability of decreasing. So +3 aluminum, gallium, indium and thallium. So if you talk about the order, this is the order, and in other words, thallium is very much less stable in +3 oxidation state. Same if you talk about +1, Al plus, gallium plus, indium plus and thallium plus. So thallium is more stable in +1 oxidation state, okay, and thallium is less stable in +3 oxidation state. In fact, the reason behind this is there is something called as inert pair effect. Inert pair effect. What do you mean by inert pair effect? We know, like let me explain here how. Simple space, not much. We know that the nucleus is at the center, and from the fourth shell we have the 4s2 4p1. This is the configuration 4s2 4p1. Now this 4s2 4p1 electrons, in this electron can be lost, but this electron cannot be loosed, okay, because we know that it is shielded by 3d electrons. 3d electrons causes poor shielding effect. Many a times I told this point. So 3d electrons offers poor shielding effect. Because of the poor shield, this nuclear force of attraction on the s electrons is higher, okay, so it has a greater force of attraction on this. Because of this greater force of attraction on the s electrons, the atom cannot lose out the s electrons, okay. So when it cannot lose electrons, it cannot form +3, so it can lose only one electron, so +1. So that's the point. So this effect is called as inert pair effect. By definition, it is like this: the reluctance of ns electrons, to participate in bonding, due to, what is the reason? Due to higher nuclear force of attraction. Why there is a higher nuclear force of attraction? Again, reason: due to poor shielding effect, due to sigma. What is sigma? Shielding effect, right? So this is the reason that causes the thallium to be in +1 rather than in +3. So in other words, I can write from this that it is undergoing, or thallium compounds, like for example, thallium +1 compounds are more stable, and in fact they are so much so stable that they resembles with alkali compounds, resembles alkali metal compounds. Okay, we'll talk about this in next page. Okay, so what I was saying is alkali metal compounds, like thallium In fact, let's say like NaOH. NaOH is alkali in nature, yes or no? Same way TLOH, they both are alkaline in nature. Same, one more, what is that? Resemblance of thallium with first group elements. Okay, so it can also like when treated with for example, what is the other one? Yeah, potassium sulfate with aluminum sulfate. So potassium is forming a double sulfates, right? Double sulfates. Alkali metals forms double sulfates. In fact, 24 water molecules of crystallization. Same way, this also will, that is thallium, will also form K2SO4 dot TlSO4 dot 24H2SO4 24S2, and here in SO4 thrice, and no, it cannot form thrice because plus 3, no, so Tl2SO4, no thrice. One more time, Tl2SO4, no thrice, because it thallium cannot form plus 3, right? So 24H2. Then it can also form, that is carbonates, just like sodium carbonate. These are insoluble in water. So do remember these points about thallium. Fine. All right, now talking about the next property, that is bonding, nature of bonding. What do you expect? As already said, these elements like earlier case, first I'll ask you this question: what about their electronegativity values? They are more likely at the p block elements, no? So they have electronegative values from left to right. Electronegativity values are increasing, yes or no? So there, from there we'll start the point. As their electronegative values are high, then the change in the electronegative element with other species, or difference in the electronegative element with other species, is less. For example, if you talk about boron and fluorine, okay, I told you to memorize that electronegativity difference, right? Like this: lithium, sodium, sorry, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine. So start from 1.0, keep on increasing 0.5, 1.5, 2.0, 2.5, 3.0, 3.5, and 4.0. So boron is 2 and this is 4. So there is no huge variation in the electronegativity difference like lithium and fluorine. Huge difference is there. But boron and fluorine, in fact, I should talk with not fluorine, chlorine. This is more sounding proper. Okay, so boron and chlorine, or even aluminum and chlorine, their electronegativity difference is very less. Difference is less. Why? These fellows are also having higher electronegativity, so difference will be lesser. So because of this reason, they different electronegativity difference is lesser, implies what type of bond they form: ionic bond or covalent bond? Obviously they should form covalent bond. They form covalent compounds, and this can also be explained, like as I said, the reason is what? Since small size of cations and high polarization, this also can explain the same phenomena. And as I said, in terms of electronegativity, one more is the sum of first 3 ionization energies is very high. What What do you mean by this point? Sum of first three IE1, IE2 and IE3 values, if you sum up them, the value is very high. What do you mean by very high? That means the species are not readily losing the electrons. That's what ionization is very high means, right? So the first three electrons, they cannot be lost so much easily. In other words, the first ionization, sum of the first three ionization energy is very high. Because of its very high, it is not able to form the cation, okay, as easy like alkali metals and alkaline earth metals. So that's why they have mostly of covalent nature. Fine. And out of this boron is always covalent compound. At least the other fellows you'll find ionic like thallium and all, but this fellow no, is always covalency, because it is resembling with silicon. Then anhydrous form of anhydrous halides of aluminum, gallium, indium are covalent in nature. Why do I make anhydrous? Because if it is hydrated, that is hydrous means, but in aqueous solution they form ionic, or they form metal ions. Just now we have seen in the aqueous medium they can lose out the electrons and form metal ions, or cations are formed. If they are able to form the cations, then ionic. Okay, so they can form metal ions only in the aqueous solution. Fine. And why is that they are able to form in aqueous solution only the metal ions? Because you can call it as hydration energy is higher than ionization energy. What is the nature of ionization energy? To remove an electron from isolated gaseous atom. What is hydration energy? When the cation is attracting the water molecules, then energy is released, right? So that water molecules when attached, when the energy is released, that energy released is sufficient to pull out the electron from the species. One more time, this is what the electron is present. To remove this electron, the upper point says like it's difficult, relatively difficult than sodium and potassium. Okay, so it is, if it is relatively difficult, then how can it form cation? It cannot form. But in the hydrous medium or water, in presence of water, it has smaller size and hydration energy is high. Hydration energy is high. What do you mean by hydration energy? More tendency to attract the water molecules. When more and more water molecules is attracted, then more and more energy is released. That more and more energy released can be sufficient to remove this electron. In other words, this process happens simultaneously. Okay, hydration energy ఎక్కువ ఉంది కాబట్టి అయనైజేషన్ ఎనర్జీని ఓవర్కమ్ చేస్తూ ఎలక్ట్రాన్ని లూజ్ చేస్తూ క్యాటయాన్ ఫామ్ అవుతుంది. అది పాయింట్. ఓకే, సో హైడ్రేషన్ ఎనర్జీ ఇంక్రీజెస్ దాన్ ఆర్ హయ్యర్ దాన్ ionization energy. Fine. So lastly about thallium, we have thallium compounds are ionic in nature. We have just seen in the previous case that +1 oxidation state is like it is more stable, right? So one electron losing is very much easy for thallium, and if it loses, it forms cation, and if it is forming cation, then it is ionic compound. All right, now talking about complex compounds. All of them form the complex compounds. All form the complex compounds. Reason? Due to empty d orbitals, they can extend it. Fine. And as compared to, always in comparison with s block elements, readily than s block elements. Fine. Nothing much about this. We will have a deep study on it in 12th. Then reaction with air. Talking about reaction. Pure boron is less reactive. Okay, let me write the point. pure boron is less reactive, whereas if we have the impure boron, it is highly reactive. Impure boron, let me write the reaction. B plus O2 gives B2O3. For this reaction to happen, this should not be pure. This is what? Impure. And moreover, the reaction is very much rapid if it is in the powdered form. Okay, so this is what about with boron. With aluminium forms a protective layer around protective layer of oxide around the metal, so that makes the metal to be passive. What is passive? Even the metal is present but of no use, okay, because it has formed a protective layer around it. Then with respective to gallium and indium, there is a point that they are not affected in air, or they are not affected by air. The thallium reacts rapidly with air. So that's the reason, in order to store thallium, thallium is stored in kerosene, oil, not kerosene, oil. Okay, so remember this point, thallium is stored in oil. Alright, now reaction with water. With water. So what do you expect? Boron, on treating with water, no reaction. With cold water, no reaction. With hot water, no reaction. But boron with hot water or steam, on red heating, you have to heat, then we will form the oxide of boron releasing H2. So no cold, no hot, only red hot heating, and that too in the presence of steam or hot water. Then aluminium in the presence of water, and moreover this is cold water is sufficient. With cold water it forms Al2O3 releasing H2 gas, and this also forms a protective layer, as I said just now, protective layer formation. And because of the protective layer formation, the effectiveness of aluminum will start decreasing, reactivity will decrease. And if you talk about gallium and indium are affected by water only in the presence of air or oxygen, only if O2 is present. Only the just water will not be effective, water along with oxygen, O2. Okay, the same thallium also, like thallium plus H2O plus O2 gives thallium hydroxide. Okay, so this is how you can say, like, in the presence of water of gallium and indium, only water cannot make it to be reactive. If you heat, yes, it is possible, but in the presence of oxygen it is more reactive. Okay, then with acids. With acids, basically, that is the HCl and the dilute sulfuric acid H2SO4. These acids are generally called as non-oxidizing acids. Non-oxidizing acids. What do you mean by non-oxidizing? They are not so much strong like concentrated sulfuric acid. Okay, so non-oxidizing, they don't oxidize much because they are in diluteness, and HCl is also not so much strong acid as H2SO4 and nitric acid. Fine. So in the presence of the non-oxidizing acids like HCl and dilute H2SO4, we have metal when reacted with, like, say for example HCl, will form MCl3 liberating H2 gas. And here, except boron does not, less reactive, no, So dilute fellows and non-oxidizing acids, no, boron does not. Then with H2SO4, and this is what, dilute, it will form metal sulfate plus H2 gas. Same, boron does not. But in oxidizing salts, in oxidizing acids like uh, concentrated H2SO4 and nitric acid, that is HNO3, these are called as what, oxidizing acids. In the presence of these oxidizing acids, the water can, we know the H2 gas is not just liberated as H2, it is further oxidized to form water. We have studied this already, right? So with boron, and moreover boron is reactive here. Boron plus, first let me talk about the other metals. With HNO3, it forms metal nitrate plus water plus nitrogen dioxide. I hope you remember this reaction, we have seen it already. In the presence of, what is this, concentrated sulfuric acid, we get metal sulfate plus, instead of hydrogen we get what, water. It is further, then apart from this, sulfur dioxide. Okay, so here boron also reacts. Boron plus H2SO4 gives, remember this, H3BO3, we will talk about this again, BO3, and boron with HNO3 also forms H3BO3 plus NO2. Okay, so this is the reaction. So only the concentrated and oxidizing acids will be helping them to liberate water and nitrogen dioxide. Okay, lastly, reaction with alkalis and okay, let me do that also then. Reaction with alkalis, what happens? Boron, aluminium, gallium, on treating with alkali, will form respective borates or aluminates. Okay, boron, borate, aluminum, aluminate, meta-aluminate. In fact, we have studied this. But indium and thallium with alkali, they show no reaction. Same with non-metals, all metals reacts with all halogens to form metal halides. Then with boron, reaction with nitrogen and carbon is also possible, except boron and aluminium. Okay, it forms boron nitride and boron carbide. Same with aluminium plus nitrogen will form aluminium nitride, and aluminium plus carbon will also form aluminium carbide. Okay, these two can also react with, and this requires heating. Don't forget that they require heating. Of course, nitrogen is stable, so it has to be broken down only by heating. And lastly, with metals, boron reacts, only boron reacts with metals like magnesium. Okay, so B plus Mg on heating gives Mg3B2. So this proves that it is, boron is what, it is behaving like a non-metal. Other metals don't react, other family members do not react. So they, in other words, they are like metallic in nature. Okay, I'm not writing that. So boron is a non-metal. So with this we stop, revise the reactions again, and in the next class we'll continue. Fine, stay home, stay safe.